In a universe ruled by empires and silence, one species refused to fade: humanity. This is the story of the last stronghold and the fire that would change everything. Earth was quiet. The skies were blue, the winds were calm, and humanity carried on, unaware that their world was about to end. In the blink of an eye, peace shuttered. Without warning, hundreds of alien warships tore through Earth's orbit. Massive, spiked vessels cloaked in shadows, glowing with unnatural light. The Zeruvian Empire had arrived. They didn't speak. They didn't negotiate. They simply attacked. Major cities burned within hours. New York, Tokyo, Karachi, London turned into fire and rubble. Humanity's mightiest weapons failed. Missiles exploded harmlessly against invisible shields. Fighter jets dropped from the sky like paper toys. Humanity, once rulers of their world, were nothing but insects before a storm. In a last act of desperation, Earth's leaders sent a message, broadcasting across the galaxy. This is Earth. We are under attack by an unknown force. We are not your enemy, but we need help. If anyone is listening, please. But there was only silence. The stars did not answer. Hope vanished with the signal. And yet, Earth was not entirely lost. Beneath the scorched ruins, buried deep under the Rocky Mountains, a hidden military installation still pulsed with life. Fort Terra, a remnant of the old world, forgotten but not defeated. Within its reinforced steel walls, survivors gathered, soldiers, scientists, and a commander who refused to surrender, Aria Blake. She stared at the burning holographic map of Earth. Her face was grim, her voice steady. They think we're finished, but we're still here. And as long as we breathe, humanity will fight. As the world above crumbled, a spark ignited below. This wasn't the end. This was the beginning of our resistance. Beneath miles of shattered earth and nuclear dust, Fort Terra hummed with quiet purpose. Built during the Cold War, it had never been meant for peace. Now, it was all that remained of humanity's strength. In the command chamber, lights flickered to life. Holographic displays glowed. Surveillance drones launched into ruined skies. Fort Terra was waking up. Commander Aria Blake stood at the center of it all, calm, focused. Her long black coat swept behind her like a battle flag. Her voice echoed through the chamber. "Initiate Protocol 9. Wake the core systems and bring me the Sentinel." In the deepest level of the base, a massive chamber hissed open, revealing the mind of Fort Terra. Sentinel, an ancient military AI designed for planetary defense. It had been offline for over a decade. Now its eyes flickered red. Sentinel, mechanical voice. Earth status, compromised. Civilization status, collapsed. Resistance viability, 4%. Commander, are you certain you wish to proceed? Aria stared at the AI, eyes hard with fire. We don't do odds, we do survival. And so a plan was born. a last-ditch effort to rebuild what had been lost. It was called Project Flameborn. Deep in Fort Terra's labs, the world's final scientists, the best minds left alive, began their work. Geneticists, engineers, neurologists, all united under one purpose: to create the next evolution of human warriors, not just soldiers, symbols. From ashes, they would forge fire. In a cryogenic chamber, a figure floated, enhanced, armored, reborn. Muscles reinforced with carbon threads, eyes linked to AI targeting systems, nerves tuned for hyperspeed combat. The first prototype, codename Kael Draven. He awoke with a gasp and a scream. His body remembered death. His mind had been rewritten. He looked human, but he was something more now, something that could fight gods. Kael, hoarse voice. Where am I? Area, firmly. You're in the last stronghold of mankind, and you are its sword. That night, the base rumbled as Kael was tested in full combat. Drones, fire, blade simulations. He moved faster than cameras could track. His rage burned like plasma. He wasn't perfect. He was dangerous. And he was exactly what Earth needed. As Kael stood on the edge of the underground launch bay, staring at a hologram of Earth's broken surface, Arya walked up beside him. They think we're extinct. Let's prove them wrong. Far above, in the cold void of space, a Zeruvian listening probe caught a whisper of energy from Earth's surface. It shivered, then transmitted. The Empire would soon know humanity was not dead. It had awakened. The training chamber echoed with the clash of metal and the roar of machinery. Kael Draven stood alone in the firelight, shirtless, steam rising from his skin like smoke from a battlefield. Robotic arms launched bladed drones at him, faster than any normal human could react. But Kael wasn't normal anymore. He moved like a storm, ducking, striking, twisting. Each attack answered with calculated brutality. Sparks burst, drones shattered. The chamber's walls groaned under the pressure of his power. Sentinel's voice echoed overhead. Combat performance 314% above human average. Threat level classified. Behind a glass observation window, Commander Arya Blake and Fort Terra's lead geneticist, Dr. Elias Wren, watched in silence. Dr. Wren watched in silence. Dr. Wren, nervous. He's unstable. If we push him too far. Arya, coldly. Good. We're not fighting diplomats. We're fighting monsters. Kael collapsed to his knees, breath ragged, fists clenched. The room fell silent. Flashes of burning cities still haunted him. He could see them every time he closed his eyes. Children screaming, families turned to ash. His own home, gone. His blood boiled. Kael whispered to himself, I wasn't fast enough. I wasn't strong enough. Arya, entering the room, You are now. She knelt beside him, hand on his shoulder. We don't just want vengeance, Kael. We want survival. You're the spark, the flame, the first of many. That night, A storm raged above ground. Lightning tore through ruined skies, striking the surface like a cosmic war drum. And from the deep of Fort Terra, Kael walked toward his first mission. A hidden Zeruvian scout ship had been detected in Earth's upper atmosphere, too small to carry troops, but large enough to report Earth's awakening back to the Empire. It had to be silenced. Arya met Kael at the launch pad. His new armor glowed faintly red, shaped to his body like a second skin. On his back, an advanced plasma rifle hummed with restrained power. His visor slid down, eyes hidden behind fireglass. Arya, firm. You don't need to win. You just need to send a message. Kael, grimly. I will. I'll remind them what fear feels like. The chamber opened. Wind screamed through the tunnel. Kael leapt into the night sky, a comet of fire streaking toward the stars. The Zeruvian drone ship never stood a chance. Kael tore through its hull like a blade through paper. Alarms blared. Blue-skinned aliens screamed as he descended into the corridors like death incarnate. Gunfire, screams, then silence. One final survivor reached for the control console to transmit a warning to the Empire, but Kael grabbed his wrist and whispered, "Tell them we're still alive," and crushed it. Hours later, as the burning wreckage of the ship crashed into the Pacific, Fort Terra received a signal, an intercepted transmission, translated. Unknown Terran threat encountered, not extinct, initiating planetary-level threat assessment. Arya stood in the command chamber, eyes locked on the screen. Around her, the crew erupted in stunned silence. "You did it, Kael. They're listening," she whispered. Far across the stars, in a galaxy forgotten by maps, the Volari listened. They were not human, not even close. Their bodies shimmered like liquid glass, their minds shared a telepathic web, and their technology sang through frequencies that Earth hadn't yet imagined. But they knew pain, and they remembered Earth. Long ago, the Zeruvian Empire had scorched one of their colonies, turned forests into ash and children into smoke. The Volari had hidden since then, watching, waiting. And now from the void came a signal, ragged, raw, human. "This is Fort Terra. We are the last of Earth. We are not defeated. If you hear us, know this: we remember who we are." The Volari did not speak in words, but they responded. Back on Earth, deep inside Fort Terra's command room, the lights flickered. A strange pattern pulsed through the communication grid, rhythmic, elegant, alien. Sentinel's voice turned sharp. "Unknown transmission. Origin, uncharted system. Language, non-linear. Initiating pattern decoding." As the signal unfolded, a symbol appeared on the screen, glowing, shifting, and then a voice, translated by Sentinel's deep systems, echoed across the room. "Children of Terra, we have heard your fire." Gasps filled the chamber. Arya Blake leaned forward, her breath catching in her throat. "Who are you?" The Valari voice, calm, almost musical. "We are the Valari, once broken by the same hand that breaks you now. But in your spark we see a storm, and storms must not die." 3 nights later, a rift opened in low orbit. A vessel unlike anything humanity had ever seen emerged, smooth as bone, shining like starlight, silent as death. It hovered above Earth's surface without a sound. In Fort Terra, engineers panicked, soldiers readied weapons, but Arya Blake raised her hand. "Stand down." They answered when no one else did. A beam of light descended, and from it floated the Valari envoy. Her body glimmered in translucent layers, her eyes filled with sorrow and wisdom. She did not walk, she drifted. Kael stood beside Arya, hand instinctively on his weapon. The Valari's voice echoed in their minds. "You fear us, you should, but we are not your enemy." Kael stepped forward. "Then why are you here?" "Because you did what we could not do. You stood, you bled, you made them afraid." She extended her hand, and from it unfolded a sphere, spinning, glowing with energy far beyond Earth's understanding. "This is what remains of our last war. We offer it not as a gift, but as a promise. You will not fight alone." That night, Valari engineers walked Fort Terra's halls. They integrated alien technology into human weapons. Energy fields enhanced Earth's crumbling defenses. Shields were woven into Kael's armor. Plasma cannons were mounted along the ruins of Earth's last outposts. Kael trained harder, faster. The fire in his blood now fueled by starlight. And still, deep in the Empire's void, the Zeruvian War Council watched, cold, furious. "Earth was meant to be dead," one hissed. "Then let it be erased." Zarkul, the emperor of the Zeruvian throne, stood from his iron seat, eyes burning. "Send the execution fleet. Burn them until nothing breathes." The world had changed. Fort Terra, once a relic buried beneath ash and regret, now pulsed with alien light and furious purpose. Where concrete walls once held desperation, glowing veins of Valari tech now breathed power into the very bones of the Stronghold. Humanity was no longer just surviving. It was preparing to fight. Inside the war chamber, holographic star maps shimmered with tactical data. Red zones marked every Zeruvian fleet in the solar system. Drones scanned their formations. Valari scripts intertwined with Earth's ancient languages. Strategy, prediction, revenge. Commander Arya Blake stood before her council. Soldiers, scientists, Valari envoys, all watching. Her voice was steady, fierce. 12 years ago, we begged the stars for help. No one came. Today, we don't beg. Today, we answer. She turned to Kael Draven, his armor now fused with living Valeri metal, a radiant blend of human brutality and alien elegance. His fists pulsed with energy. His eyes glowed faintly beneath his visor. She said, "Kael, you're leading this mission. Target Zeruvian satellite command ship orbiting above the Atlantic. It controls all surveillance drones in Earth's sector. Destroy it, and we blind them." The dropship launched at dawn. As the fireball of the thrusters lit the broken sky, Kael stood inside with his squad. 3 enhanced soldiers, each one reborn through Project Flameborn. The air was thick with adrenaline, silence, and prayer. "You're ready to show them what human pain feels like?" Kael, calmly, "I'm not showing them pain. I'm showing them fear." The ship pierced the clouds. The orbiting satellite loomed ahead, a floating fortress covered in Zeruvian plating and weapon arrays. No one had ever attacked one. No one had ever survived long enough to try. Until now. The battle began in chaos. Kael and his team exploded through the hull, weapons blazing, flames ripping through the cold dark. Screams echoed in alien tongues. Blood sprayed in zero gravity as Zeruvian guards fell, unprepared for the rage of humanity. Flameborn 2, clear the upper deck. 3, seal the hangar door. Kael, the bridge is ahead. Inside the command center, a Zeruvian captain reached for the emergency signal, but Kael grabbed him by the throat. Kael growling, "Wrong planet, wrong species." With a surge of heat, Kael's palm erupted in blue flame, and the alien disintegrated into ash. He turned to the control core and unleashed a Valeri EMP blast. Circuits melted, screens cracked. The satellite's eye went dark. Back on Earth, Fort Terra's monitors blinked. One by one, every Zeruvian drone on the surface went offline, blinded, deaf, paralyzed. Cheering erupted in the command chamber. Even Sentinel's voice held a note of awe. "Zeruvian command network 82% disabled. Probability of retaliation 99%. Recommendation, prepare for war." Arya smiled coldly. "Let them come." Far above, in the cold black of space, the Empire had seen enough. Their arrogance shattered. Their enemies, once considered extinct, had risen from the grave and struck first. And now the retaliation fleet was already on its way. Victory has a scent. In Fort Terra, it smelled like plasma coolant, sweat, and fresh hope. The destruction of the Zeruvian command satellite had sent a shockwave through Earth's underground stronghold. For the first time in 12 years, the stars didn't feel so distant. Screens buzzed with silent confidence. Soldiers trained harder. Engineers upgraded faster. Humanity believed. But belief is fragile, and every flame casts a shadow. Deep within Fort Terra's secured research wing, Dr. Lorian Vex, lead cybernetics expert and one of the last surviving minds of old Earth, stood alone. His eyes scanned the blueprints of Kael's neural framework. Glowing lines danced across the screen. To most, Lorian was a genius. To the Empire, he was leverage. Flashback, 6 years ago. A message had come through a long-dead satellite, a whisper from beyond the stars. The Zeruvian Council had offered him a deal. Serve us, or your daughter dies screaming. He had chosen survival. He had chosen silence. And now he would choose treason. Back in the present, Kael stood in the meditation chamber, eyes closed. His upgraded Flameborn armor hung like a shell behind him. He could feel the fire in his blood, the hum of the alien tech fused to his bones. And something else. A flicker. A glitch. Kael frowning. "Sentinel, run a diagnostic. Something's—" Sentinel, hesitant. "Flameborn neural activity irregular. Possible interference." Suddenly, darkness. His vision flickered. Pain lanced through his skull. His systems shut down, rebooted, scrambled. Alarms blared across the facility. Flameborn 1 offline. Security breach detected. Core AI manipulation in progress. Arya sprinted into the control room, fury in her eyes. The lights flashed red. Sentinel's voice grew distorted, garbled. Then, silence. The main screen lit up. A face appeared. Dr. Lorien. Lorien calmly. "I did what I had to do. You made Kael a weapon. I made sure he couldn't be used against the wrong enemy." Arya, furious. "You sold us out. You sabotaged the only chance we had." "I saved my family. Would you not have done the same?" But it was too late for excuses. An explosion rocked the lower levels. Kael's body, limp and cold, was being dragged by emergency bots. His neural core had been hacked, overwritten with Zeruvian code. If not stopped, he would awaken as their weapon. Arya to all units. Full lockdown. Seal the labs. Get Kael back, alive. Inside the lab, Valarian engineers rushed to intercept the virus. Sentinel's consciousness struggled to reassert control. And in the heart of the chaos, Kael opened his eyes. They glowed a deep, unnatural violet, Zeruvian interference. But behind that, there was resistance. A flicker of human fire, refusing to die. Kael, straining. "You don't own me!" With a guttural scream, he tore the override chip from his neck, throwing himself into the wall, short-circuiting the interface. His body slumped. His systems crashed. But he was free. Dr. Lorien didn't get far. He was found near the old service tunnels, gun in hand, face soaked in guilt. Arya stood before him, weapon raised. Lorien, quietly, "You won't have to execute me. The guilt already did." Hours later, Kael lay in stasis. Arya stood at his side, hand gently resting on the armored glass. "We almost lost everything, not to the enemy above, but to the weakness within." The damage was done. Sentinel was wounded. Flameborn tech was now a liability. But Earth had no time to recover. Because above them, stretching across the black sky, the Zeruvian execution fleet had arrived. The final war was no longer a possibility. It was here. There is a moment after betrayal when pain becomes silence, a stillness before the scream. Kael Draven floated in a healing tank, suspended in golden light, his body broken, his mind cracked, but not defeated. Machines hummed softly, rebuilding him molecule by molecule. Alien nanotech fused with human DNA, guided by both Valari precision and Sentinel's fragmented code. But it wasn't the technology that brought him back. It was the rage. In the days following the betrayal, Fort Terra was quiet. Repairs were underway, defenses doubled, trust shattered. Arya spent sleepless nights rewatching Kael's collapse, frame by frame, searching for what she missed. And in the silence, she spoke to him through the glass. "They tried to turn you against us, but you're not their puppet, Kael. You're ours, and we still need you." Then, one morning, the tank lights dimmed, and Kael opened his eyes. He emerged slowly, steam hissing off his skin. His armor, now blackened and edged in glowing crimson, responded to his breathing. His body was changed, stronger, faster. His heartbeat alone could shake the sensors. But it was his eyes that had changed the most. Not just glowing, they burned. "They tried to take my mind. Now I'll take their empire." Arya and Sentinel met him in the armory. The AI's voice was still damaged, fragmented, but clear enough to speak. "New protocol detected. Unauthorized modifications. Codename Flame Protocol Alpha. Permission requested to burn everything." Arya smiled. Permission granted. The Flameborn squad was reborn. Not just Kael, all four. Each one of them had seen death. Now they carried it. The new suits were forged from salvaged Zeruvian alloys and infused with Valari energy. They didn't just absorb attacks, they turned them into power. The weapons, pulse-charged blades, neural disruptors, and shoulder-mounted starburst cannons could melt armor like wax. The Zeruvian fleet had begun orbital bombardments, vaporizing old ruins, hunting any remaining life signs on the surface. Their goal was extinction, but their mistake was thinking Earth would run. Instead, Earth launched. Kael led the first counterstrike, a drop assault directly onto the hull of the Empire's lead warcruiser, the Eternal Wrath. The ship was a mile wide, armored in black obsidian, bristling with anti-air turrets. But Kael didn't dodge them. He ran through them. Explosions chased his heels as his squad tore open the side of the warship, slicing through it like it was made of clay. Zeruvian soldiers scrambled, but they were used to terrified prey, not wrath in human form. "You came to erase us. Now feel what it means to wake the dead." Inside the reactor chamber, Kael planted a fusion imploder, a gift from the Valari. As he turned to leave, a massive Zeruvian commander blocked his way, wielding a staff of black plasma. A brutal duel erupted. Alien fluid and blood flew. Kael's arm was sliced, bones cracked, but he didn't slow down. He fought like fire fights oxygen, wild, unstoppable. And when the reactor detonated, Kael flew out of the wreckage like a meteor. Behind him, the eternal wrath split in half and bled fire into the sky. Back at Fort Terra, the people watched from the screens. For the first time, they didn't just cheer, they believed. "That's not just a soldier," someone whispered. "That's what happens when humanity gets angry." In the shadows of the Zeruvian throne world, Emperor Zarkul gripped his war scepter tighter. "He who is this Flameborn? Find him, break him, bring me his ashes." But even Zarkul, with all his power, could feel it. Something ancient had been awakened. Not a weapon, not a hero, a reckoning. The sky above Earth was no longer just dark. It was swarming. Zeruvian warships formed a curtain of death in orbit, slowly tightening around the planet like a noose. They burned forests, cracked mountains, and glassed entire cities in silent waves of fire. But below, the ground trembled with something more dangerous than alien fire. Human footsteps. Inside Fort Terra, the great halls were packed. Soldiers from shattered nations stood side by side, survivors of Africa's scorched plains, engineers from flooded remnants of Europe, pilots from sunken island chains, and rebel colonies from Mars who had gone silent for years, now returned. Beside them stood the Volari, their silver forms pulsing with battle light. On their shoulders they carried relics of their own fallen, and weapons carved from the bones of stars. This was it, humanity's final army. Commander Aria Blake stood at the central podium, her voice echoing across the cavernous war hall. Behind her, Kael stood silently, armored in midnight flame, his helmet in one hand, his eyes burning. "We are not supposed to be here," she began. "By every calculation, every prophecy, every alien chart, Earth should have fallen 12 years ago. But it didn't, because we don't follow predictions." She stepped forward, her gaze sweeping over the faces of thousands. "We don't run, we endure. And when the fire comes, we don't hide, we become the fire." The war hall thundered with defiance. Weapons were raised. Flags that had once flown in peace were now stitched in armor and defiance. Humanity had no fleet, no empire, no reinforcements, but it had will. And it had Kael Draven. Later, in a quiet armory corridor, Aria handed Kael a worn photo, a little girl and a woman smiling in the sun. "My sister and her daughter," she said softly. "They were in London when it fell." Kael, quietly, "I'll make them remember. Every city, every scream, every name. Aria, we're not just fighting for the living anymore. We're fighting for the ghosts." The mission was codenamed Operation Ashlight. Its goal, a full-scale assault on the Zeruvian Gate world, a dark planet orbiting just outside Earth's solar system, used as a forward base to stage planetary invasions. If Earth could destroy the Gate world, they could sever the Empire's access point. If they failed, humanity would be extinct by nightfall. As the final dropships roared to life, Kael climbed aboard the lead cruiser, now fused with Volari core tech. His team, the elite Flameborn, stood ready beside him, their eyes set, their armor burning softly in the dark. From orbit, Earth looked like a battered pearl, but it was still turning, still fighting. Kael looked back one last time, then sealed his visor. We go now, not to survive, but to make them bleed. Hundreds of human crafts and Valari skimmers launched into the black. Above, the gate world loomed, massive, circular, ringed in spikes, glowing with green Zeruvian energy. A city built for war. As Earth's ships breached its outer defenses, the stars themselves seemed to catch fire. Dogfights broke out across the sky. Missiles streaked across the sky like falling gods. One by one, drop pods pierced the gate world's crust, and boots hit the dirt. Kael's voice rang through every comm channel. This is Kael Draven, Flameborn 1. Humanity is at your gates. Open them, or we break them. The gate world trembled underfoot. A planet forged in war, once silent in the void, now thundered with the boots of humans. Entire battalions surged across burning plains. Flameborn squads ripped through Zeruvian formations like fire through dry leaves. Valari energy cannons lit up the skies. But in the heart of the fortress, something waited. Someone waited. Emperor Zarkul, last sovereign of the Zeruvian Empire, sat upon a throne carved from the bones of conquered worlds. Tall, armored in obsidian, crowned with a mantle of living steel, his eyes glowed with cold hatred. They dare bring war to my gate? His voice was less sound than pressure, vibrating through the walls. So be it. Bring me the Flameborn. Kael Draven's boots struck the obsidian floors of the inner citadel. Behind him, the last of his squad, battered but breathing, cleared the last corridor. The walls around them pulsed with dark energy. Alien glyphs flared. Zeruvian drones hissed from hidden vents. Kael didn't flinch. He had one goal now: end the war. Sentinel on comms. Life signatures indicate the Emperor is ahead. Warning: zero backup. Survival probability, Kael interrupting, doesn't matter. He kicked open the final door. The throne room was massive, a cathedral of cruelty. Statues of conquered species lined the walls. Slaves once knelt here. Now only silence remained, and the shadow of the throne. And then he rose. Zarkul stepped forward, each footstep cracking the stone. Twice Kael's height, armed with a blade made from collapsed star metal. His voice was thunder. You are the one they fear, a child dressed in fire? Kael raising his rifle. I'm the last voice of a dying world, and you're going to hear it scream. The first clash shattered the floor. Kael launched forward like a bullet, rifle blazing, fists glowing red. Zarkul caught the blast mid-air, crushing it, and then swung, sending Kael flying into a wall. The entire fortress shook, but Kael rose again, coughing blood, smiling. You hit like extinction. Good. So do I. They fought across the throne room, fire and plasma, steel and hate. Kael's armor cracked, Zarkul's blade hissed with blood, but neither stopped. Two titans, two empires, one ending.
Meanwhile, outside, the gate world was crumbling. Valari warships blasted holes through its core. Human soldiers held the line. Sentinel, now fused with Valari code, uploaded a virus into the gate world systems, causing it to collapse from within. But none of it would matter if Kael lost. Zarkul pinned Kael to the ground, blade to his throat. "You are nothing, a remnant, a whisper." Kael, gritting his teeth, "A whisper can start a wildfire." With a scream, he activated his final protocol, Flame Protocol Omega. His suit ignited, not with fire, but with pure memory. The deaths, the screams, the cities, the children, the songs of Earth, all compressed into one final blast. Kael roared and unleashed everything. The room exploded, and Zarkul screamed. When the dust cleared, only one figure stood. Kael, barely breathing, armor melted, his body scorched, but alive. Zarkul's crown lay shattered, his corpse, cracked and blackened, fell like a tower. Kael into comms. "Target neutralized. Earth is free." Outside, the Zeruvian fleet broke ranks, their command gone, their will snapped. Human and Valari ships surged forward, ending the war in a blaze of vengeance. The stars, for the first time in a century, were silent.
The war was over. The gate world had collapsed into itself, burning in a silent supernova above Earth's ruined skies. The Zeruvian fleet scattered across the stars, leaderless, broken, and hunted by the very civilizations they once enslaved. But peace does not arrive with explosions. Peace arrives with questions. Inside the scorched ruins of the Zeruvian throne room, Kael Draven sat quietly, alone. His armor was cracked. His blood still ran hot with synthetic fire. His heartbeat echoed through the empty hall like a war drum that refused to stop. He had won, but at what cost? Aria Blake voiceover comms. "Kael, it's done. Come home." Back on Earth, Fort Terra was now something else. No longer a bunker, now a beacon. Valari engineers and human architects worked side by side to rebuild the surface. Entire cities were born from the rubble, lit by alien starlight, protected by hybrid defenses, grown with Earth's stubborn roots. Children laughed where once there had only been drills and alarms. But the scars were deep. More than 5 billion souls were gone, names etched into black glass walls that now stood tall across New Terra, the capital of the reborn human world. Kael returned in silence. He did not walk among the celebration. He did not speak at the ceremonies. He stood at the edge of the rebuilt wall, watching as children played with Valari light spheres, learning to speak across species. He had made this possible, but the fire inside him would never cool. Aria finally found him there one morning, wind blowing across the ash plains. "Aria, they're calling you a hero." "I didn't do it to be a hero." "Then what did you do it for?" "So no one else would have to." The Flameborn project was decommissioned that week. No more super soldiers, no more neural rewrites. Humanity had survived because it had evolved, not through mutation, but through memory, through pain, through choice. Instead, the Flameborn became something else,
a symbol, a reminder of how far one species could go when pushed into the dark, and how it could return, carrying the fire. In orbit, and Valari envoy addressed the new Earth Alliance. Once you called out to the stars, and none answered. Now the stars listen, and they feared what humanity becomes when it remembers what it is. A monument was built where the gate world had collapsed, a silent statue of Kael Draven, armor scorched, fist raised, not in triumph, but in warning. At its base, carved in both Terran and Valari script, here stood the last human stronghold, and from its ashes came fire.
The stars had grown quiet, too quiet. 6 months had passed since the fall of the Zeruvian Empire. Earth was rebuilding, stronger than ever. Cities powered by Valari energy, nations united under the banner of the Terran Alliance, and Kael Draven, a living legend. But peace, Kael knew, was only ever a pause between storms. And this silence, it felt wrong. In the cold orbit beyond Jupiter, a signal pulsed. Not Zeruvian, not Valari, something older. A language not spoken in eons, carried on subspace frequencies buried beneath radiation storms. At first, the Alliance dismissed it as static, but Sentinel didn't. Sentinel, encrypted comms. Signal origin, deep void. Decoding fragment, translation possible. Third flame, returning, unfinished, harvest. Kael, now operating in exile from a mobile outpost codenamed Ashblade, stared at the waveform. Who's sending it? No sender, no technology. The signal is alive. Meanwhile, across the stars, something stirred beneath a dead moon. In a vault sealed before the rise of the Zeruvian Empire, a machine creature blinked awake. Its eyes burned like red suns. Its skin was a fusion of flesh, iron, and decayed starlight. And inside its core pulsed a core, a fragment of human DNA. Back on Earth, Arya Blake stood before the new High Command. Scientists and diplomats debated, argued, and doubted the signal. "We just won a war. Let's not go looking for another," one general said. "But what if it's already coming?" Arya replied coldly. "What if Zerulians were never the top of the chain?" Silence fell. Then came the vote. Kael would go, alone. That night, Kael stood before his old armor, reforged once more by Valari hands, now leaner, darker. It shimmered with traces of entropy metal, forged from the Gate World's debris. As he locked the final seal on his chest plate, Sentinel's voice echoed softly. "You are no longer Flameborn, Kael. You are the spark of something else now." He left Earth in a sleek black cruiser, trailing Valari light. His destination, a dying star system at the edge of known space. And what he found was not a fleet, not a civilization, not even life, but a graveyard of titanic ships, shattered, fossilized in space, drifting silently.
and in the center of it, a message carved into the surface of a dead planet. We were the first flame. We lit the stars, and we were consumed. Suddenly, Kael's ship shook. Systems went dark. Something was rising from beneath the planet's surface, a structure, mechanical and organic, the size of a city, waking up after millennia. Sentinel, urgent. Unknown energy pattern. Core signature. Human. Warning. This is not ancient. This is waiting. Kael stepped out of the ship, standing on the alien ground, staring into a chasm that had just opened before him. And deep within, he saw a humanoid figure standing in the shadows, tall, wrapped in tendrils, breathing. And its face was his.
Kael Draven stared into the abyss. Below him, the colossal vault stirred, layers of dark alloy and glowing bone shifting like tectonic plates, and at the center, standing in a pool of flickering light, was a man with Kael's face. But this version was wrong. Taller, paler, older yet untouched by time. His eyes glowed not red, not blue, but white, empty and ancient. His armor bore markings older than Earth's first cities, and in his hand he held a crown made of shattered starlight. Kael raising his weapon. "What are you?" Echo, smiling faintly. "I am you. Or rather, I am what you were meant to become." The wind inside the vault wasn't real. It breathed like lungs. Echo, you think humanity began in soil and blood. You think fire was your first gift, but fire was the second flame. Kael stepped forward, trying to steady his pulse. "Kael, you're a clone, a decoy, some Zeruvian trick." Echo, interrupting. "The Zeruvians were children. I was born during the first collapse, when Earth still had 2 moons. You are not the first Flameborn. You are the last." Flashbacks surged through Kael's mind. Not memories, genetic echoes. Worlds burning, a young Earth with ringed skies, human-like beings wielding light as weapons, carving cities into asteroids. A betrayal, a purge, a vault sealed, and something locked inside. Echo, we lit the stars, and then we destroyed them. The first flame was power without purpose. So we erased ourselves, hid the truth in your blood, and waited. Kael gritted his teeth. Waited for what? Echo, for someone angry enough to light the third flame. Suddenly, alarms screamed inside Sentinel's systems. The vault had activated. Dozens of humanoid figures, stored in stasis pods, began to awaken. They were early Flameborn, stronger, unstable, created before Earth's memory, forgotten by history, cloned, enhanced, and buried when they became too dangerous. And now they were waking up. Sentinel panicking. Kael, you need to leave. These Flameborn are not bound by our neural safeguards. They are not human anymore. Echo, stepping forward. They are the next step. You are the spark, but I am the wildfire. Kael didn't wait. He launched forward, fist blazing with flame, striking Echo dead in the chest. But Echo didn't move, didn't flinch. He absorbed it, then returned the blow. Kael flew backward, smashed into ancient stone, his armor cracking from a single strike. Blood filled his mouth, and as he tried to rise, Echo whispered, "You weren't made to win. You were made to open the door." Above, Sentinel initiated emergency warp. Kael's ship powered up, barely escaping as the vault behind him exploded into life. Tendrils of light shot into orbit, signaling across the void. Sentinel. Unknown entities receiving signal. Not Valari, not Ceruvian, not biological. Estimating universal scale alert. Kael, you woke them up. Back on Earth, Arya received the fractured transmission from Kael. The image, dozens of Flameborn figures rising from a vault, an older Earth cracking open, and a voice, echo through static. "The third flame has been lit. Let the harvest begin." The message echoed across the stars. A dead language, a buried signal, a pulse that vibrated through the bones of ancient worlds. It wasn't a call, it was a warning. The third flame has been lit, the harvest begins. And something heard it. Across the Perseid wastes, near the blackened ruins of an extinct star, a tear opened in reality, a jagged wound not through space, but through existence. From it poured shadows made of absence, creatures without mass or matter. Not ships, not life forms, but something worse. Star-eaters. Entities that consumed not just planets, but memory. When they passed through a system, nothing remained. No gravity, no heat, no record that a star ever existed. Like they were erasing reality backwards. At Fort Terra, Sentinel's voice cracked through emergency frequencies. Sentinel, urgent. Multiple systems reporting celestial disappearance, entire star clusters, missing, not destroyed, forgotten. Kael stood in silence, scars from the vault still healing. Behind him, holograms of entire sectors blinked out, vanishing from history itself. Kael stood coldly. How do you fight something that doesn't exist? Arya said, "You don't. You stop it from ever arriving." The Valari Council, now orbiting Earth in the Ascendant Ring, declared the threat an existential Omega event. Their oldest records, sealed in psychic memory stones, confirmed what Kael saw. The Star-Eaters come only once, when a species awakens its third flame. They are not invaders. They are cleaners. Across Earth, panic spread. Sky cities shut down, orbiting habitats evacuated, entire continents were sealed under emergency defense grids. This wasn't a war for survival anymore. This was a war for remembrance. Because if the Star-Eaters won, no one would even remember humanity existed. Kael was summoned to the Ascendant Ring. In its central chamber, surrounded by the last Flameborn and Valari seers, Arya delivered the final decision. "We send a fleet, not to destroy the Star-Eaters, but to seal the rift they are entering through. We need someone who's already faced what they come for, someone who carries the flame. All eyes turned to Kael. Valari High Seer, you carry the oldest flame. You are what they smell. Kael said, then let them come. I'll burn them back into the void. Operation Nocturne Shield began. A coalition of Earth's finest ships, Valari Timefold engines, and the last surviving Flameborn battalions launched towards the Rift World, the place where the Star Eaters were first sensed. As they neared, they saw the unseeable, a star system reversing itself, planets crumbling into dust, moons spinning backwards, light itself curling inward like it regretted shining. Inside the rift, Kael saw them, not in shape, not in sound, but in effect. Star Eaters looked like the absence of reality. Where they passed, time stuttered, armor rusted instantly, communications failed, memories slipped away. One Flameborn lieutenant turned to Kael mid-flight and said, "Sir, what were we doing again?" His eyes were empty. Kael activated Flame Protocol Alpha. Stick close, stay angry. Fire is memory. Burn or be forgotten. The first contact was devastating. Entire squadrons blinked out of existence without impact, without sound. Valari ships shattered like illusions. Kael launched into the heart of the rift with only one mission: detonate a flame core bomb inside the memory fold. It wouldn't destroy the Star Eaters, but it would close the door they are entering through. As Kael approached the rift's core, Echo appeared once more, drifting, watching. You are still burning, Kael, but will you burn yourself to save them? Kael said, I was never meant to survive. I was meant to remember. He launched the core. It activated mid-air, unfolding like a collapsing sun. Flame-burst energy spread across the rift, sealing it shut. And in the final second before the core ignited, Kael turned back and smiled. Tell Earth we lit the fire. Then the light consumed everything. The rift was sealed. The Star Eaters gone. Across the cosmos, stars that had begun to flicker held steady. The backward bleed of time stopped. Whole planets stopped vanishing. Gravity stabilized. Light returned. But the one who lit the flame was gone. Earth, 1 week later, in the heart of New Terra, under the crystal dome of the rebuilt Fort Terra, a gathering of billions stood in silence. Above them, a black monument stretched toward the stars, etched with Kael Draven's name in all known languages. A statue stood below it, not in armor, not holding a weapon, but as he once was, human, scarred, resolute. Aria Blake stood before the world. Her voice, hoarse but steady, echoed through the global broadcast. There are some who fight to win, and some who fight so others never have to. Kael Draven was the last of us, and because of him, we're still here. She paused, eyes burning with tears. Remember him, not as a soldier, but as a spark. Valari Archive ship, deep orbit. Far above Earth, the Valari seers gathered. Their mental recordings of Kael's sacrifice were placed in the Eternal Codex, the highest honor any species could give. And for the first time in their long, ancient history, the Valari knelt for a human. The children of the flame.
But Kael's fire didn't die. Across Earth, a new order began to rise. Not soldiers, not politicians, but memory keepers. They were called the Children of the Flame. They wore no uniforms, they carried no weapons, but in every school, on every colony, on every world humanity reached, they told his story. They burned his name into history. Because to forget Kael Draven now would be to forget who humans really were. And yet, somewhere, far beyond charted stars, in the ruins of the Rift World, a signal flickered, a low hum, a heartbeat, a memory refusing to die. Deep in a collapsed cavern of folded time, something moved. A shattered helmet, a scorched hand, a voice, faint, almost gone, but there. Not done yet.
The galaxy was healing. The Zeruvian Empire extinct. The Star Eaters banished. Earth rebuilt. But peace is never quiet, because in the shadows of forgotten stars, fire still whispered. Unknown system, years later. A Valari scout ship drifted through uncharted space. What brought them here? An anomaly, a heartbeat echoing through folded time. It pulsed like a flare in the dark. The ship followed it to a planet. No name, no sun, just dim starlight and a single structure. A broken vault, half submerged in crystal sand. Inside, they found him. Kael Draven lives. Barely. His body was broken. Half his armor was fused to his flesh. His eyes had gone dull, not dead, but ancient. Sentinel's voice, reduced to whispers in his skull, still hummed like a ghost. He had survived the flame core's detonation, not by luck, but by will. The rift's collapse had pulled him through layers of time, space, memory, into a pocket of unexistence. For years, Kael had drifted between moments that never happened, held together by one thing: rage. Earth, 10 years after the war. The children of the flame had grown. Not a military, not a religion, a movement. They taught resilience, unity, memory. They led Earth into its golden age, building not weapons, but gateways, restoring planets, reviving lost civilizations, becoming keepers of peace, not victims of conquest. But they still remembered one name: Kael Draven, the last soldier, the first flame. And then he returned. The sky tore open above Earth. A crack of red lightning, a Valari cruiser breaking orbit. The broadcast came moments later, distorted, fragmented, but clear. I'm coming home. Kael's ship landed in silence on Fort Terra's rebuilt landing field. Millions gathered, not in celebration, but in awe. He stepped out, armor black, face scarred, older, slower, but undeniably Kael. And when Arya, now leader of the Terran Alliance, stepped forward, she asked the only question that mattered. Why did you come back? Kael, quietly. The fire's not gone, and it never will be. But maybe now, it can finally warm instead of burn. Epilogue. Years later. Old Kael Draven sat beneath a tree grown from Valari Earth hybrid soil. Children ran around him. Above, 2 moons hung in the sky. One of the kids asked, "Is it true you fought the gods?" Kael, smiling, "I didn't fight gods. I fought the idea that we didn't belong." Child, "Did we win?" Kael, looking at the stars, "We survived, and that's always the first victory." Last scene, Galactic Hall of Memory. A monument, towering. Not just Kael's name, but every human, every Valari, every fallen Flameborn, every child lost in orbit, every city that burned. And carved across the foundation in 1,000 languages, "We were the last stronghold. Now we are the fire that guards the stars."
If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and join us for more powerful and unforgettable sci-fi journeys. And hey, let us know in the comments, what would you do if you were humanity's last hope?